activated again. But Nance and I love that song, and it's a connection with us. And we started doing it live on stage with Art, and where like everyone else in the band would leave, and it would just be the two of us, and we would do the song. And we did it, I think, the first time acoustically about 5 years ago, when it was the first anniversary of so, the first 1 year after 9/11. And yeah. And it was really powerful, you know, in that context. It was just, we just went out there, first thing, just walked out and played that song. It's a very emotional audience, and because it was the day it was. And it really hit home that this is a song that really lives, you know, for Nance and I. And we could take it out of the Love Mongers and put it anywhere. So we couldn't let it go. And our producer for the new album, Ben Mink, came and heard us live. And he went, "What is that song?" And we told him, and he said, no, we have to do that. We have to do that on the new record.
Right.
I mean, the Love Mongers record, it was great, but it was more like a demo for what it could become. And that's why we redid it.
Well,
We
you know,
needed good microphones. They had good microphones finally
Yeah.
to record it with as well.
Yeah.
as a music critic, though, let me just tell everyone here, if you haven't heard the Love Mongers record, it's a great record, and it's
Really
always
deep.
been one of my
Thank you.
favorite
Whirligig,
things that you
yeah.
guys did.
It's
Yeah,
a
there's
fun
some-
album too.
There's some okay songs on there, like that
Yeah.
song Kiss, and
Mm-hmm.
of course the Vegas Gene.
The Vegas Gene is a comedy track, yeah.
Heavy Sedation.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was, I don't know how many people here got a chance to see you guys live in that era, but it you know, I'm obviously a Led Zeppelin freak. You guys both, it's interesting, both of you guys have done solo albums, and the only artist that you both covered on each of your albums was Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's
Interesting.
that's some holy stuff.
Yeah. That's right.
Houses of the Holy, you know, where you
Yeah.
guys saw the
Yeah.
Beatles.
Yeah.
But, you know, it certainly is that era of the Love Mongers was, you kind of mentioned it, was kind of a pulling back from what Heart had become,
Yes.
which was a commercial monster in the
Yeah.
late 80s.
The
You know,
operative
5
word is
million
monster,
records
yeah.
sold. Let's talk about the 1985 self-titled album, Heart.
Yeah.
It's your biggest selling record.
I don't want to talk about it.
I'll talk about it.
Okay, you talk about it.
And yet
I'm
it's the album that you guys wrote, you still wrote or co-wrote at least half the songs
Some of
on
the
it.
songs, yeah.
But some of the big hits were not songs you'd written, and that's the first time you guys had done that.
Yeah.
And so it's different, it's got to be different emotionally as a singer, because so many of your songs are so personal. This was a great example here, where there's a backstory to almost every song.
Exactly.
And yet here you are on that album singing songs that are very powerful, but they're not your stories, or at least
Yeah.
they don't begin that way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had a real hard time with that, to be honest.
The lyric content still stands in the way of us covering some of the other songs from the 80s that were pretty big hits.
Yeah.
You know, because Anne has to sing them, and we're not out here posing.
No, I have to meet them.
Yeah, you have to meet, and it has to represent. I mean, even some of our own songs lyrically are challenging. You know, because you write these things when you're much younger and you haven't experienced a lot of stuff, and then you're out there going, you know, he's a magic man. You know, it's kind of like,
Wait a second, I was going to ask you to play that now. That's off the
I mean,
list.
still, it's a fun song to play musically, and I know for Anne, at times it's been almost emotionally, you know, you have to go back and think of it more universally, like this is a story, this is a girl's story, not necessarily my story,
Right, yeah.
you know, to continue to interpret that song.
And then it's funny because you have the song, you wrote that song about a person.
Yeah.
And yet it ends up taking a history. And then I live in this little town, and there was the postmistress who knows everybody, and she said, "What are you doing today?" I said, "I'm coming down here." And she said, "Yeah, I met a guy at the bowling alley who said that song was about him." And it's not the person. It's like
So
there's
he
so
was
many
the magic
stories, or
man.
people begin to believe that the songs are about them
Yeah.
when they're not.
Right.
And so the songs take a life of their own. And yet,
There's many magic men running around.
It's a stadium full of magic men.
It's Woodstock for magic men.
You know, the same thing with the song Barracuda. I mean, it's been used in so many ways now, both in ways that we approve of and ways that we don't necessarily approve of, that it no longer is something that comes directly out of the true writer's experience. It's been taken into the culture to mean whatever the heck they want it to mean.
and you're referring, of course, to the fact that the song was co-opted by a Republican candidate. And you guys protested and immediately issued something and said, "We don't want to be associated with that." And I kind of liked what you did because it was non-political, what you said. You just
Right,
said, you said it's not whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats, but we did not give permission and we don't want
Right,
to be
yeah,
associated with.
Don't. And, you know, as it turned out, the damage was done, because you can't put the genie back in the bottle once it's out there, and like everyone has the right to use your intellectual property when it's out in the air for certain things, but at least we exercised our rights as Americans to speak up,
Just to say,
so we were
We don't like
satisfied. You know.
Other than the Barracuda catastrophe with this one candidate, and you're right, it's stuck. It's stuck as a
the
nickname.
controversy of that was not bad for us. It was probably good for us, you know.
Yeah, in a creepy kind of a way.
What else, and you know, I don't want to hear a history of litigation, but where else have you heard your music and thought, wow, this is not where I thought we'd ever, you know, and I'm not talking about being in an elevator and hearing a, you know, Muzak version of Dreamboat Annie, which I have heard. But where else?
Right. Do I talk about the dilemma?
Is there something
No,
going
it's
on?
just
I'm
the
not
sound.
aware
Yeah,
of.
there is.
This morning.
It's been adjusted, but there's a movie coming out called Dilemma that
Vince
has,
Vaughn.
yeah, with Vince Vaughn, and it issued a trailer about a couple weeks ago, right? And I'm checking with our manager who's sitting right here. She knows all. But
We all knew him.
and in the trailer, you have Vince Vaughn saying he's in a business meeting at a car company, and he's trying to sell one car against an electric car idea, and he's saying, you know, I just got to tell you guys, you know, electric cars are gay. They're just gay. I mean, what happened to the good old rock and roll idea of dum 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 dum? They play Barracuda, right? So then today, Anderson Cooper and Ellen DeGeneres were on the news in a conversation about how uncool this was to speak so disparagingly in this trailer about gays by using that term in such a weird way.
Because they're doing a story
It's
about bullying.
supposed to be
and-
funny, but
yeah.
it's really not funny because, you know, especially because recently all the bullying of young gay children and some suicides that have happened. And so things have changed, you know, where language, when used in the wrong way, can go horribly wrong and add to the problem of hate. So here's our song underneath that, right? So, you know, I went, oh, great, you know, first Sarah Palin and now this. That's got nothing to do